Okay, welcome to Lab 7 of AI-102. And this is the third lab in the natural language processing learning path within there. This lab is called Create a Language Understanding Model with the Language Service. So what we're basically doing here is we're creating a language model that tries to understand natural language. So it picks out things like intents and entities that might be very specific to the application itself. So we need to start off by creating a language service. Again, we're not using the multi-service resource for that. So again, we're going to create a language here. And then we don't need any of the custom features. We'll select our resource group. And then for the location, the conversational language understanding is not available everywhere, but it is in East US. So we're going to keep that one. And then we're going to call it EU understanding. Let's just say LU, right? Language understanding. And the pricing tier works with free as well. Okay, and then yes, we are responsible. Create. Okay, it's done. Here's our resource. And then remember that if you need the endpoint and keys, it's over here under resource manager. But we actually need to go to Language Studio from here to be able to start working on our project. And here we need to sign in again. And then it's going to ask us to define or select a resource. So that's the language resource that we just created. It is available over here. All right, let's get rid of this clutter here. And then what we want to create is a new project, conversational language understanding. Okay. For the project name, we should enter clock. Our primary language is going to be English. We don't need multiple languages. And what we're going to do is a natural language clock. And then next, create. And now we're in our project. As often in Language Studio, we can get an idea of what we need to do here in the left-hand side. So we need to start off with schema definition. Then we do some data labeling, some training, and then we can take a look at the actual model itself. But yeah, so what we need to do is have intents and entities. So let's start with a new intent. And the name of this intent is get time. Okay, let's add that. And another intent, which would be get day. And then a third one, get date. Yeah. So these are basically the use cases for our, let's call it, application. Okay, so now we have these intents. So let's give the model some examples on how these intents are kind of showing up, right? So the way that we do that is we select the intent that we want to label. Let's say got time first, and then write some examples here, right? The first one is what's the time? And then what time is it? And then tell me the time. All right, so now we've created 3 utterances for this particular use case. You can see them there. So next, let's go with the get day intent. And yeah, what day is it? What's the day? What is the day today? What day of the week is it? And then finally, for the get date intent, a couple of sample utterances. What date is it? What's the date? What is the date today? And what's today's date? All right, so now we've got some utterances here. We need to remember to save changes here at the top left side. And then we can go and train our model. Okay, go away. Simple, start a training job. It's called the model clock. And we just want to use standard training, and we want to use the default train test data split. Let's click on train, and then we wait for a minute. All right, and now training is ready. See, training succeeded here. So we can take a look at the model performance. And you can see a pretty good score all around. This is not the case in real life, but we have a very simple model. Okay. So then let's look at deploying that model. So we can add a deployment here. We need to give the deployment a name. So let's call it production. The model needs to be the clock model. And then we can select the regions that we want to deploy to. So we just have one resource, so we're going to deploy it there. All right, that has been now deployed. Then we can move over to the testing deployments phase here. And then we select the deployment that we just did. And then we can, run some test stuff in here. I'll just put this further down. So what's the time now? And then where's our run test button? Here. Okay, so it understood that get date should be the intent instead of get time. Not very good. If we use something totally different here, like tell me the time. Okay, now we got the get time. That's good. And then if we use something like what's the day? Oops. What's the day today? And then it happily gives us the get day back. Okay, so the other part of schemas are entities, right? So let's add an entity here, and our entity is going to be location, and let's say learned entity. So let's go back to data labeling here. And let's create some new utterances. So the first one could be for get time. And what time is it in London? And now what we can do is we can select the entity here. Well, not that one. Rather London, right? I hate this UI. London, okay? Then we can select that this is a location. So now it understands that that part is a location. Could add another one. Tell me the time in Paris. And then again, select Paris and define that as location. And then a third example, what's the time in New York? Now, paint New York, select location. Great. So let's save all of this. And let's create a new entity. And this time, the entity is a weekday. Okay. And this is a list. So we have a fixed set of options. All right. So we're down here in the list department. We need to add a list. And starting off with Sunday. It has a synonym like sun. Can we add a new one? No, let's save first. And then we have Monday. And then that has Simon. And then we have Tuesday. And then let's say Tew and Tews. Oops, not Ruse. And then Wednesday. Thursday. Friday. And then finally Saturday. Okay. So here we are. We have our weekdays. So let's go to data labeling. And for the get date intent, let's make something tricky, like what date was it on Saturday? And then we need to say that this is actually an entity of a weekday. And what date will it be on Friday? And what will the date be on Thursday? I don't know if anybody actually uses Thursday. Well, doesn't matter. Okay, so let's save these. And then let's add one more entity here. And let's call this one date. And then this is actually built in to the whole system, right? So we don't need to train it ourselves. And then here, if we go to the pre-built, we add a new pre-built, and we want to use date time. All right, so then some sample utterances. This is for get day. What day was the 1st of January 1901? And we tell it that this is actually the date or Joo.
Moi. Onko tilillä rahaa?
Hetki katso.
Ostin kanaa ja euron keitto.
Mahtavaa.
Tonnikalaa, avokadoja, mutta ympäri.
Joo. Ei näy. Siis on 13 euroa. Paljon tarvii?
Vaipat on 8 euroa. Mitähän tuossa olisi?
Mä laitan parikymppiä lisää, niin se riittää.
Okei.
Yes.
No niin, moi.
Moi. All right, and let's have another one. What day will it be? December 31st, 2099. And then we're going to say that this is a date. Okay. So now, after these changes have been saved, we now need to retrain the model. Okay, so start a training job again. And then we just want to overwrite the existing clock model. We don't care about the existing version. Automatically splitting and standard training is okay. And that is done. Let's go and take a look at the performance again. And now you can see that we're way worse in performing. Okay, let's deploy this one. And we want to just now overwrite the production deployment with a new version of clock. Okay, so let's see how this works. We want to know the time in Tokyo. So it got the intent of getting the time and the location of Tokyo. That's good, right? What date is it on Friday? Be the next one. Get date. That's good. On Friday. Yeah. Then what's the date onwards? Get date. Good. Wednesday. On the weekday, Wednesday. And then what day was the 1st of January 2020? Get date. The date. Good. And the last use case. What day will March 7th, 2030 be? And yeah, we want to get the date. That should be get day, right? I got that one wrong. But I got the date correct. All right. So now we have a model, but this is not an application yet. So let's develop an application, right? Let's get over to Visual Studio Pro. I've already cloned the GitHub project here. So we can dive right in. And we're going to start with the C# option again. And then we're going to do Python afterwards. So as always, we need to add a package for this to work. So .NET add package Azure.ai.language.conversations. And then we want to have specifically version 1.1.0. So that's doing that. Then let's go over to app settings. So we need the endpoint and key. These were here. The endpoint first. Key. Meanwhile, our packages are conversations. It's supposed to be conversation. Cool, so settings are okay. And then let's go and take a look at our code. Again, we need to start with importing some namespaces. So we're just going to use Azure and then Azure AI language.conversations, right? And then here is the part that reads in the configuration, and then we need to create a client here. Let's do that. So first we need a URI object for the endpoint info. Oops. This was a new URI. was prediction endpoint, yeah. And then we need the key credential. Equal new credential, the prediction key, right? All right, now we can create the conversation analysis client. Yeah. Client new and what does this want? The endpoint, of course, and the credential. Great. So then let's go to the actual main part of our code. Here we're getting some user input. And then we want to get the intent and entities from that input. Okay. So we need the project name here somewhere. This could have been in the settings as well. It's going to be static for us anyway. Nope, clock. Then, oops. The deployment name was production, right? And then data. Oops. And then let's create a structure here. Nicely like this. Analysis input. First thing we need to define is the structure. Oops. Let's do it like this, yeah. Consistently. And then there's a conversation item. And then there we have the text. And that was user. Yeah, user text. And then we have an ID. It's just one. And then participant ID. Just one. A very simple application here. Good. So that's the conversation item. And the analysis input. And then what we need to do next is parameters. And there, the project name, deployment, and then string type, string index type equals UTF-16 code unit. Okay. And then kind equals conversation. So that's the data we are sending over to the client. Yeah, I think we're at the right spot. Okay, so let's send it, and we're gonna get back a response. We'll do it asynchronously, and then this takes a request. Content. And use the data for that. Yeah. Okay. Then, oops. Okay, then it's going to be a conversational task result. Let's just do it like this. Conversational task result from the response. Content to dynamic from JSON. And then this requires JSON property name. Camel case. Okay. And then dynamic conversation prediction, which we're going to get from our task result. It's going to be result and then prediction. All right, we need JSON serializer options. The way we want. Indented. That's it. And then let's write stuff out. Oops. And we want to serialize the conversational task result. Go. Oops. And then maybe some maybe a line. Cool. And then the user text type. User. All right. And then that's picked the top intent from the result. We only want to do that if the confidence is over 50, the prediction, prediction dot intent, what is it? Conversation prediction dot intent should have, intents, and then the first item, and then in there the confidence score. That needs 0.5. What's going on now? Yeah, it should be this. Then yeah, set to the top intent. Conversation prediction, and then we have something called top. Okay. Oh, lots of code. So now we got the intent. So then let's work with that intent. So let's make a switch on top intent. Oops. And then if it was get time, then what we want to do is check for a location. Say that we're just local first. So let's look at entities. In conversation prediction, there we have entities. Okay. Now if an entity has a category, it equals location, then I'm gonna say location is that one. Cool. And now that we know where we are, if we are somewhere, then we can get the time. So, oops. Time response is get time for that location, not location. Okay. Let's write that out. And then we're done. Okay. So then if instead of get time, our intent is get day, then we need to get a date. And then we overwrite that if we have a date entity response. So we say dynamic entity. I could just copy paste code from here. I think there's a nicer way to do this. Let's just follow the instructions. So now we're looking for category of date. And then if it is, then we're just going to say the date is that one. Now we can do this one as well. All right, so now we have a date. We can say day response. Day. And then date. And then and break. And finally, the final case, get date. Let's just copy. Get off a bit easier. So now we're interested in the day. So we want to have the day of week. Like assuming today, right? And then day, week, to string. And then if we get back a weekday from the entities, then we're going to say that that's going to be the day. And then now the response is date response. Get the date. We give it the day as a parameter. And then we print that up. And then we need to add a default case as well. Let's just write out try asking me for the time, the day, or the date. Okay. So let's see if this works. How many typos we made? We have one error somewhere. Oh yeah, we need to break that default as well. There we go. So this should work. Let's see. Something wrong here. Yep. Didn't have that S at the end. Okay. So hello. Okay, so we got back the JSON here. Know what it looks like. Conversational result. The query was hello. Top intent is get date. But that's 0.71. Okay. That's going to say the date of today. What time is it? This one it should get, right? Okay, here, yeah. Get time, confidence score 1. So the time is 8:37. That's good. What's the time in London? Okay, get time is the intent. That's good. And then it found the entity location London. That's cool. And it gives us the correct time for the time set. Great. So you can, of course, continue testing this if you want to. We have to go back to the Python code and redo all of this again. Okay. So let's do that. Let's quit this one. Let's go over here. First, fill out the .env. So here we have endpoint. And the key. Good, that's saved. I'm getting rid of that. Then the actual program here. Starting off again by installing the required SDK here. Need to change directories here. There we go. Python. And then the clock client. Cool. And then install the SDK. And then meanwhile up here, I can import the key credentials. Azure core credential. Should work in a minute. From Azure. Oops. Azure AI. Yeah, there we go. Organizations. Import organizational this client. Okay. So as normal, we are reading the configuration from .env here, and here's the main loop. So let's create a client here. And it needs the endpoint, and it was ls prediction endpoint here, and then the key credentials is going to use structure for that. This should do it. So then over to the actual beef. So let's use some variables for the project name. That was clock. And then we had a deployment. That was production. So query is going to be the text that we read in, and that's user text. And then the result is analyze conversation. And what we need there is a JSON task. Okay, task is open bracket. Find conversation. A little bit tedious to use JSON here. Would be nicer otherwise. Analysis input should be conversation item, and then participant ID is 1. Is this a string? Okay, and then ID get lost. ID is 1. Modality is text. Language is English. And then the text itself. The query, right? Okay. So then make sure that logging is not enabled. Now this is a boolean. Okay. Then we need parameters. And here we got the project name, which was CLS. And then we have deployment name that we had in deployment slot. And then let's also add verbal. Okay, this should be okay. Right. So then from the result, we want to get the top intent. Result. Something wrong with my keyboard again. From result, we want to take the result, and then there I want to take a look at prediction, and then there I want to take a look at the top intent. Okay, and then we have the entities. Again, from result, just copy. And now we have these here. Okay, so let's print some stuff out. So here, top indent. Tab there, top indent. Oh, yeah. Format. With the top indent. Then, well, to close that as well. Then we could print the category. So now we need to go, let's take this one. We need to get that from the result again. So it's under result prediction, intents. And then the first one. And then the category. Okay. And then we want to have the confidence as well. That's in the same place. It's called confidence score. Okay. Then we might take a look at the entities. Each print the category. Then text. and then a score. There we go. Now that's all parsed. And then at the end, let's also print the query that we sent originally. Let's read it from the result. There we go. Okay, that's the creating a request and then parsing the result part. And then we need to do stuff with it. So remember, we have the different kinds of functionality down here: get day, get date, get time. So let's do that. So top intent had the best intent in it. So we'll run a switch on. Oh no, we don't. We run an if on that in Python. Let's do an if top intent equals get time. That was it. Then first we set the location to local, and then if we have entities, is modulo 0, then check if there are locations, right? For entity in entities, if location entity category, then I want to do that. I want to use that one. Now we need to use next. Cool. Okay. And then once we're done, we can just print. No? The result from get time with that location. Not Timmy. Okay. So else if top intent is get day, and we could actually copy paste this, just change it quicker. So now it's not a location that we're interested in, but rather a date string. We're just going to use today as the default option to stringify that to month, day, year. Okay. So then if we have entities, for each entity, we're now checking that it's not a date. Right, and then if it is a date, then we use it as our date string. And then we print out get day. Parameter of the date string. All right. And then if topic is actually get the date, just copy paste. So then we're interested in a day. And then if we have weekdays, date weekday, then we use that as the day, and then we print get date. Day parent. Then the catch-all print. Try asking me the time, the day, or the date. All right. And this is it. Let's see how many typos I made here. So Python client. Hello. Top intent was get date with 71% confidence. So, but it still got the else part. Well, it should have gotten us the date. Something's wrong. This is supposed to be date. Okay, so let's try again. Hello. So it still thinks we want the date, and now it gives us the day. That was not good. It was the wrong way around. This one was get day. Sorry about this. Got confused there, yeah? Cool. This way. Once more. Hello. And now it has the intent get date, hopefully, and it will give us the date. Cool. So it seems to be working. What time? Time is it? Yeah, let's get time. Good. 9:03. What time is it in London? 16:03, that's correct. What's the date? March 18th. Good. What day is it? No, that's the get date intent. Damn. What day is today? Yeah, now we got get day, but we missed the I did everything correctly, but our program wasn't working correctly. So when we are in the get day option, we're doing something stupid. Ah. Should work. Month, day, year, right? Interesting. Okay. Now, anyway, like I said, it's not perfect, but it's like what day was 1-1-1000? I think that this is a get date. Okay, so yeah, the model is not perfect. We didn't give it enough sample utterances, but you know, principle stuff is working. So thanks again for listening to me for this lab. This is everything we got. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Till then.